Hello, it's Anna and Sophie from Soundyard here. We make Chris Skinner's Countryside podcast, and we've got something very exciting to share with you. We have a new service that's being launched, and it's called Spoken Stories.
Spoken Stories is all about recording the voices and memories of your loved ones in outstanding quality, so they can be enjoyed for generations to come. For example, you know the story that Grandma tells that everyone in the family has heard before. Well, Spoken Stories is about getting those stories down and preserving them for your family history. Spoken Stories is about gifting someone the time to capture these personalities and unique voices.
We record your loved ones' tales, whether it's their whole life story so far or something more specific like a life-changing event. It is a gorgeous experience, and what you're left with is a beautiful monologue that really captures the essence of that person.
Think of it like an audio portrait, and take a listen to a snippet of this one from Diane's spoken story, recorded in her beautiful garden.
I was born in 1951 at Newmarket, and unfortunately I didn't see Mum for a year. I was looked after by a lovely nurse called Diane, my name, because my mum had TB when I was born. And so my mother never worked because with her problem with her, lungs, she had to go and have it sort of pumped up every so often. She used to do a lot of dressmaking, so she always made our clothes years ago. But yeah, she was a lovely mum, yeah, and Dad as well, yeah. That's very nice childhood I had, yeah, very nice. Yeah. I got married February the 16th, 1974. The weather was gorgeous. I ended up having to put on a big sort of T-shirt under my wedding dress I didn't need. I had a lovely one of those transparent umbrellas in case it rained, and it was just a beautiful day. I think I'm always sort of quite cheerful. I mean, if I go down the Luke and deliver some eggs to somebody, I'll meet somebody and chat, and then Paul say, "Where have you been?" I said, "I've been chatting to people." That's just my way. That's just how I am. We've always lived here. We had this built in 1974. They put the footings down in February and we moved in the August. Years ago, I used to go around the village on a bike, and when I had Ian, he'd sit on the back. We live in a lovely area. We've got lovely neighbours. They help us all out, which you all do with neighbours, and that's very, very nice. And as I said to Paul, I'm hoping we can keep this place on until, well, I don't want to move from here until I go out in a brown box. I hope that's not too soon.
If you'd like more information about Spoken Stories and to take advantage of our special introductory offer, you can head to www.soundyard.org/spoken stories.
And keep listening after this episode with Chris, and you'll hear another example of a spoken story. It's a view of the world from a 6-year-old.
Charming sight, Chris.
Oh, Matthew. I think this is the third week that I've actually tried to get you close to what you called a charming sight. And that really was because the flock of the birds, just the name of it, just flew up in front of us.
There they go again.
Is a charm of goldfinches, and they're feeding on their food plant name. We're just driving up to visit a woodpecker's hole, would you believe, and completely distracted by what we just saw. So let's just see if we can go in a little bit closer. And wow, exactly what I wanted to show you. I think that's, there's lots of thistledown flying up all round us. A little bit closer. Where they're going? They're going there and round and stop the car. Perfection.
It's quite a silvery sort of impression as they all fly around in unison.
Yes, the sun is just peeping out between the cloud. It's partial cloud, quite windy, and thistledown is blowing off the crop left, right and centre, so it looks like almost a snowstorm in the middle of September. Wow, that's a sight and a half. I reckon there's probably 75 goldfinches. So what happens at this time of the year is they start to flock together. They're finished breeding, They'll do 2 broods, sometimes even 3 broods in a year. And I think I'm going to give you these, and I'll just hold the microphone for a second, if I may. And if you look in the top of the teasels there, it's swarming.
Oh, and through the glasses you get this lovely yellow flash.
Yes.
And the red on his head as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly that. So they've got lots of names which sort of help contribute to that. In fact, it's one of our probably the most beautiful finch species in the UK. Look at that, they're swarming all round us. Look, landed right by the car.
Straight into the teasels.
I couldn't make it up. Just have a look if you can, if they're still there.
Yes.
There'll be some youngsters mixed in with them, and they won't have the same colour as their parents. They're much paler and kind of beige colour. More beige is prominent, but the yellow band on the wing. So I think it's a 1960s or 70s pop music song. Band of Gold by Frida Payne comes to mind.
It's a lovely vivid yellow, and some of them have got that red on their head as well.
Yes.
They're the older ones.
Yes, they're the adults, and look at that, there's thistledown's blowing all round them now. And scientific name of the goldfinch is Cardulus. Scientific name of the thistles they're feeding on is Cardulus. We've just stopped in exactly the right spot. I can't believe it. So this is a 5 acre, it's 2 hectares of overwinter wild bird seed mix. It's full of thistles. How embarrassing. And there's the barley down low in the crop. There's perennial sow thistle here, which is another food plant. But the main food plant that they're feeding on is the creeping thistle here. And you can see the thistledown actually coming out. There's enough sun to make the individual thistledown. There it goes. There's thistledown's off to Yarmouth about 20.
It's a very windy day, isn't it? We're into autumn now, some blue sky, but it's windy, a little chill to the breeze.
Yes.
And these lovely birds as well.
Yes.
What a sight.
And they're hanging on to the top of the teasels, just teasing the seeds out. They've got these special long beaks, particularly the male goldfinch, got a slightly longer beak than the female, and they're right beside the car within 10 metres of us.
That's right.
Just
Less than a cricket pitch away.
Yes, look at that. Absolutely stunning. And the male goldfinch can reach down into the teasel's seed head a little bit further than the female, and sometimes because of the shape of the bill, it's kind of wedge-shaped, quite long for a finch, and generally they can just open the beak up and tease a seed out, which is quite well buried in the actual teasel head, and that can be the end. And I have picked up male goldfinches here actually hung themselves on the teasel head. They can't get their beak back out because they go in so far, and it just sometimes grips the teasel head. But that's their favourite food. A bird 25 years ago would have been quite scarce, and many people are feeding them in their gardens with one of the tiny seeds that goldfinches love. Is called Niger, and that's a real magnet for them. But this is particularly special when you've got a large area like this. These teasels are dotted all over the farm. At the moment I've actually got a teasel walk, which I think you opened a few weeks back, and it's still up and running, and there's another flock of teasel. I'm so excited. Another flock of goldfinches on those teasels as well. So we've perhaps got a total of 200 to 300 goldfinch here at the moment.
Come and have a look. You may see a charm of goldfinch, but also remember to bring your binoculars with you, because without these you don't get the full majesty of them.
No, and that's exactly what it is. And one of the nicknames for them is King Harry, or they were because of the red face, and I think it was King Henry VIII used to like to wear lots and lots of red.
Chris, have the
as well.
binoculars.
I will have a binocular. That might stop me talking for a second.
No, because they're on top of the teasel there.
Oh wow! Yes, got them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 without moving the binoculars. That is stunning.
So you were saying about King Harry?
Yes, King Henry VIII wore red a lot, and particularly had a red face, and so he got named after the goldfinches. They've got another name which is also interesting. and they're called draw waters. And I didn't know for a long time why they're called draw waters, but in Victorian times, goldfinches used to be caught and trapped and put into special cages. The French have a special name for the drop trap which caught goldfinches, and it's called a chardonneret. And they were then caged up, and goldfinches have this ability when they're feeding on these thistle heads right beside us. They perch on the top of the thistle and they pull with their other foot the thistle head over towards them and tease out the little downy seeds on the bottom of those plumes. They'll also use thistle down to line their nests with as well. And goldfinches have this ability to hold on with one foot, feed with their beak and the other foot sort of in conjunction with you. They're very clever. So people realised if you caged them and then you put a little string inside the cage and it pulled a little like carriage up, and it either had food or water in it, and that's so they had to earn their drink, which is to my mind a little bit cruel to say the least, but that was the fashion back in Victorian times. And goldfinches will migrate away, but many of them stay here, and you are absolutely spoilt just to see that. It's one of the highlights of the year when the charms start to form. We did have a quick look last week, but we couldn't find them, because in this area of the farm there's kestrels. We've had a pair hatch off on the other side of the farm, and the young kestrels are still honing their hunting instincts and hovering over the crop here, and that spooks them, so they'll move off to a different patch of teasels onto the other side of the farm. So they've been on the move the whole time, and we just hit lucky then. And wow, what a way to start the podcast. And you couldn't make it up. We were covered and surrounded with one of the most beautiful finch species. Really, really lovely little birds, bright yellow band on the wing, hence band of gold, highly colourful, very acrobatic as well, and make beautiful nests, usually on the end of branches, sometimes in your garden in apple trees. Lovely little cup-shaped nest, lined often with thistledown, which is one of their food plants. So beautiful, absolutely stunning.
Even Rat, the terrier, is mesmerised with the sight. What a start to our countryside podcast. Chris Skinner is our host. High Ash Farm. We're just outside the city of Norwich, within sight of the city here in the county of Norfolk, and lots more to see.
Yes, and lots more to do. So come on, Rat's on my lap. Start the truck up, and wow, that was a welcome sight.
Chris Skinner's Countryside Podcast with Matthew Gudgeon.
Just in the lee of some woodland here, Chris, looking in as well. What have you seen?
Oh, Matthew, there's a wonderful understory of brambles here down at the shrub layer, and a whole mixture, lots of sweet chestnut here. And this is a favourite area on the farm for two of the three species of woodpeckers that live at High Ash Farm, the great spotted woodpecker and the green woodpecker. And each year the woodpeckers here drill new holes. They find a fault in a tree and then drill away until just above our head, conveniently, there's a hole about 3-inch diameter, 2.5-inch diameter. It's a little bit larger than normal for the particular species that did occupy it about 3 years ago, and that's the great spot woodpecker. It's been enlarged a little bit around the entrance hole by squirrels which had tried to go in. And last year I brought you to this exact spot just to show you how important nesting cavities in hollow trees are. It's a good 80-foot sweet chestnut tree. Obviously there's a fault in there somewhere. Woodpeckers are gone in, and I brought you here a year ago almost exactly and there were hornets here, if you can remember.
I do very well, because we stayed in the van.
For
didn't
some
we?
reason, I was kind to you. Yes, so it's one thing you don't do in life, and that's stir up a hornet's nest. There's a sort of saying about that, I think.
Metaphorically and actually.
Yes, true, very true. They're quite mild-mannered, not like a normal common wasp which will sting you for the sake of it. Hornets are left alone, they'll get on with their life. But because nests are really important, nest sites out in the countryside, we've lost a lot of old trees in recent years with the gales that we've had. Seem to be having much more wind than is normal. And this year, the hole's been taken over by some wild black bees. They're jet black. Now, if we stand quite close, they won't hurt us. They're so busy working on the ivy at the moment. Ivy's now coming to flower at this time of the year.
Oh, we can see one.
Mid-September, yes. Almost need the binoculars. You actually see them quite well when they're bringing the pollen in off the ivy. It's one of the last flowers or plants to come into flower out in the Norfolk countryside at this time of the year. They go like 4 or 5 in at a time then, and you'll see these tiny little yellow blobs, one on each hind leg. So they gather the pollen, and that's food for the brood. And they show up much more because they're very dark bees. They're not the sort of bees you'd want to keep sort of commercially, because the old black bees, although they're very good workers, they'll work at quite a low temperature, they're rather notorious when you open the hive up for coming off the combs and having a good go at stinging you. So I found out lots about that, whereas the Italian bees, they're much more yellow, more wasp colour, I suppose you'd call them, and they're quite mild-mannered in comparison to these.
These are very fast flyers and maybe
Yes.
a bit smaller.
Yes, they are. They're a bit smaller than the normal honeybee, Apis, one of the Apis species. So they're in there busy working. So I'd love to know quite how big the colony is in there. Some are coming in and going out all the time. And so it's really valuable. So although the actual nest site for the woodpecker probably won't ever be used again, it's unusually low to the ground. It's only about 10, 12 feet up in the air. But nevertheless, there's one actually out on the trunk there. We'll have a look, because, let's have a look. That one's not got pollen on, but it's just looking around. It could be a young worker, and what they do, they'll come out and sort of orientate themselves and learn where their nest site is, obviously. But there'll be a single queen in there, and she might live over the winter until next spring, and then the workers will rear another queen. She will then exit with half the honey and quite a few of the worker bees and start off a new colony. So you don't have more than one queen in a colony at any one time. And the freshly emerged virgin queen will bite off the caps of the queens which haven't yet emerged, because often they'll rear 2 or 3 or 4 drones at the same time. Drones are deficient. They don't have a tongue, so they can't feed themselves, so they're reliant on the worker bees to look after them. But a lovely site, just to sort of demonstrate how valuable good nest sites are, and really nice to have them here. And they're out pollinating things. So one of the questions we'll have a look at later is about pollinators this year and about the shortage of them, and we'll get to those. But we've got another site to visit in a few seconds, but we've got something missing.
Oh, don't look at me.
No.
There's been something missing for years here.
Yeah, missing. Here we go.
Oh, a rat,
It's
you
Rat.
mean?
He's disappeared.
I saw him through there.
Yes.
In the thicket.
That's a bramble thicket, and so no idea. He's in there somewhere, so we'll give him a call.
Give him
and
a
then
whistle.
We can go to our next site. Rat. Come on. Come on, time to go.
Here he goes. I can see him just coming through here.
Excellent. Oh yes, a rocket motor. Well done. Very good, Rat. In the car. Come on. Look at that. Good boy.
The ducks at High Ash Farm going in to roost for an evening. Hey everyone, it's Matthew here, and if you've been enjoying our countryside podcasts, we've got a small favour to ask.
Yes, Matthew. What we're going to do is to ask for a small donation to help run the podcast, and any surplus goes for conservation at High Ash Farm here. And so it's really important. We both love to keep the podcast going, and that duck agrees with me, I think.
Well, it's straightforward to donate. You can make a one-off donation or set up a small monthly contribution, and the address is highashfarm.com/podcast.
We're hugely grateful for any support. It means we can keep sharing the stories of the countryside, which I love doing each week, but it's that small amount of costs we need to cover. So thank you very much in advance.
Oh, it's wonderful autumn sunshine, very low sunshine, it's beautiful. But in the distance we can see huge amounts of rain falling on probably the town of Wymondham, you were saying, Chris.
It looks about 10 miles away because it's windy. Oh, that was a comma butterfly, just flew past us and landed close to one of the sunflowers. We're standing in a field of sunflowers in full flower. And it's overwinter wild bird seed mix, so lots of bird food here. This won't be harvested for human consumption, and I'm smiling a bit because there's a reason why, which I'll explain in a minute. But I love sowing a whole variety of different seeds to feed birds over the winter months. This particular one is really useful. It's called fodder radish, and it produces these paper-like pods, almost about half the size of a pea pod. Let's get one out. They're very brittle, and I can crush the pods up, and they stay on the plant right through the winter months, and inside them are tiny red seeds. There they are. They come out on my hand, and if you ate one, they're really hot, equally as hot as mustard. And there's also mustard growing in here, lots of spring barley. And this wouldn't be too embarrassing to combine, to actually take the seed and sell it, and because it's malting barley, it's one of the older varieties, and done really well. Lots of other plants in here for wildlife. I can see this one, which is just beginning to produce seed. This is called millet, and that's one if you've got keeping canaries or budgerigars. It's looks lots and lots of seed just beginning to form down at the bottom of the plant. Again, here they all are in my hand. Lovely juicy seeds such as you'd buy in a pet food store.
That's luxury for the wild birds.
Absolutely top-notch food. And of course all the cereals, so there's a whole variety of different plants growing in there, as well as normal arable weeds. Rats quite near a pink one there. That's called redshank. You remember we looked at that a few weeks back, just here.
Yes.
And bird's foot, speedwell down there.
That dash of blue.
Yes,
there.
that lovely, beautiful blue. Now, this is where it gets a little bit embarrassing.
Oh no, what have you done?
I've accidentally done something I shouldn't have done, because I just buy lots of different seeds. Oh dear, Matthew. I get lots of reports from walkers going past.
Oh dear, that looks like a
yes.
maybe something if you rolled up and smoked, you'd have a rather hallucinatory time.
Yes, right. It's got saw-edged leaves, long lance-shaped leaves. It's quite a tall plant, a very sort of quite a strong stem really, and it's just coming into flower. And if I just get the flower head and crush it up in the palm of my hand. Now, I hope you're not going to tell me what this smell is.
Yeah. Actually, that's quite mild to what sometimes you smell walking around the streets these days.
Yes, it's cannabis sativa. So,
how has that found its way in here?
Well, it's hemp, And of course, hemp is a brilliant birdseed, and many people.
I've got it on my jumper now here.
Yes.
The drug squad will stop me on the way home.
Exactly, but fortunately, this isn't the high cannabis content hemp. I think if you rolled this up and tried to smoke it, you wouldn't get very far with it. So fortunately. It does happen in birdseed, and sometimes it springs up in people's gardens. Birds are quite messy feeders, particularly sparrows, and it used to be illegal not to grow it in this country because hemp seed, just look flying over your head, Gudgeon.
Oh, look at that. Is that a buzzard?
That's a buzzard flying into the wind with his wings folded. How on earth is he doing that? That's incredible. Just fantastic sight. Look at that. And soaring round, just nearly turned on his side, and we saw the lovely sort of chestnut beigey brown back with black speckles on. Wings just tilted up. He's hardly flapped, and he's flown 1/4 mile into a strong wind. That's amazing.
He seems to be circling us.
Yes, I think so. I think he's eyed Rat, who's sitting in there. Rat's seen it.
He's up there, yeah.
Yes. So anyway, I'm slightly embarrassed because some of the walkers walk past and say, "Mr. Skinner, did you know you've got cannabis growing in your field?" And I do have to try and explain that it's, purely for birdseed, and it's not the high cannabis oil or the flowers which people grow. It's not really hot enough to grow proper cannabis in this country. But this sunflower, getting back to the legal side of growing wild bird seed, is just about finished flowering. And now you can see a beautiful arrangement of the black seeds. So I'm just rubbing away the remains of the petals, and look at that. There's probably 50 seeds here, and we're looking just where we're standing. Round about 1,000 sunflowers of various heights. There's a very large one there, 6-inch diameter. Lots still to come out as well. Still going to come into flower.
All looking this way towards us.
Yes, they're all facing east, which they tend to do. And so we're just looking into now the cloudy skies, and it's a really cheery sight. But what it's really for is doing that, what we call hungry gap, which starts in December, January, February, and even into March. And it's that time of the year when the birds have eaten the fruit off the hedges, and seed-eating birds are at a loss, and they can come to High Ash Farm and find plenty of food. I'll be feeding rooks and crows and wood pigeons, as well as linnets, goldfinches on the small seeds, red poles, siskins, all sorts come into here. And if we're lucky, round the hedges in a month or two's time, we'll see some of the farm's bullfinches. Again, one of those most beautiful hedgerow birds with a white rump as well, and beautiful wine red on the plumage on the male, and a kind of black cap on it. But there we are. A little bit of embarrassment. Now you know why this particular farmer's got a red face. He's got cannabis in his field. Drug squad will be after me, and lots of young sunflowers still to come into flower. So what a lovely sight, and it's right by one of the permissive walks here at the farm. And there's more sunflowers right by this year's Teasel walk. So you can park at the Roman Town car park and walk to the site, and there's little signs saying Teasel Walk all the way round the farm.
And all of this a buffet of brilliance for the birds.
Yes, absolutely.
Through the gate we go. I think that rain is skirting around, Chris. You might be lucky.
Yes, I think so. We might even have some sun in a moment or two. We've just arrived at Norfolk's largest Roman town site. If we just sit down, there's a lovely seat here right at the entrance. We're very close to Caister St Edmund Parish Church, and there's a 30-acre field which is walled in to sort of encompass the entire portion of the Roman town as it was in AD 40. So nearly 2,000 years ago the Romans came to Caister St Edmund, and it's a really important site. And I've got a lovely photograph of my father with 3 horses at the bottom of this field, ploughing with a 2-furrow plough, and he was only 16 years old. So it always amuses me. The field was in cultivation way back then. It's now managed by the Norfolk Archaeological Trust.
In Roman times, this was walled. It was a giant square.
Absolutely, a huge wall with a moat round most of it, and in a moment or two I'll take you to the top and we'll look down into the moat. It's a kind of monumental feat of human endeavour to dig all that out by hand. There were no diggers or JCBs back then, and it was all done manually.
Quite a few slaves.
Yes. That's what I feel I've been for the last 60 years, a slave of the farm. But the seat we're sitting on is some relevance to why I'm here today, and we'll just look at the little memorial plaque. Joan Constance Seaman, née Skinner, and her date of birth and death, and Alexander George Seaman, doctor, and he died in 2014, devoted to each other, their family and this place. So that was my aunt Joan, and her husband Alex changed everything for me in one word after a Saturday afternoon shoot. And he gave the vote of thanks, which I'll never forget, almost makes me tearful. And he said, "Thank you, Chris, for such a wonderful afternoon's fun." He didn't say sport. Do you know what? It hit me like a sack of bricks, I suppose. And it took a year or two, but eventually the sportsman, as I suppose I was then, with the 12-bore or the catapult and everything I'd sort of taken war against the wildlife on the farm, it all completely changed. Sort of a 180-degree turnaround, and it's the best thing I ever did. And I've brought you here for a reason, because
Because your uncle said the word fun.
Yes, he did. Yes, there was a row of pheasants, hares, rabbits, woodcock, everything. There was some snipe there. We'd shot them. Many of those are now red list species. Even some grey partridge, which I'm trying to sort of have them banned, red list species. We did the conundrum in a couple of weeks ago, asking a question: why should partridges be worried on the 2nd of September? Sundays, the 1st of September, there's no shooting on a Sunday, no game shooting, but it can be completely different, and the change that's happened to High Ash Farm is enormous in terms of the variety of wildlife that's come back. That's why I brought you here. The wind's blowing, it's kind of taken the cobwebs away from both of us. So if we just stand up, we just walk up the little track behind us here, and it's awe-inspiring because we're standing almost on top of the Roman wall. We'll just walk a little bit further up.
As the land rises up.
Yes, but the other side of it, it's breathtaking.
Oh yes, this is a huge ditch.
How about digging that out by hand? It's absolutely extraordinary feat of engineering. And then on top of this would have been a flint wall, and that provided the kind of battlements. But I brought you here for another reason, because High Ash Farm, we've got lots of chalk close to the surface, and a certain plant likes high pH soil here, and I walked along the top of this wall. I managed to harvest by hand these tiny seeds from this particular plant. It's a species of mullein, and I brought you a tiny little sticker to show you how small the seeds are.
Oh, you've put them under sellotape.
Yes,
there.
I have.
Oh, they are small, aren't they?
They're
Look,
tiny.
just tiny dots.
Yep, tiny black dots.
And then mullein.
That's mullein, but it's a special mullein. And here's the result of this year's flowers. The dead mullein stalks, but absolutely full of seed.
Oh, they
Goodness.
love this bank, don't they?
Yes, they love it. Absolutely love it. It's all southeast facing, gets the full sun on it, high pH soil, and I walked along here with just a few grams of seed and let the wind, as it is today, blow the seed all over the wall, because the Romans used mortar to build their walls in between the flints, so there's chalk in the mix as well as sand and the flints, and that's ideal. So the soil originally came to High Ash Farm from a railway crossing at Thorpe, and just on the outskirts of Norwich, and that was the first place this plant was recorded in the whole UK. It was in Gladstone's Botanicum, 1745. Sadly, the book got burnt. It was a beautiful manuscript with hand plates in it, and that illustrated the hoary mullein. But it said much about the city walls of Norwich, and I've never forgotten. So I fell in love with the plant and gathered some seed from High Ash Farm, then brought it here, and I've done little seedings all the way round. And now it's come into the news this last week or so because a formerly extinct moth, the Norfolk Snout.
The Norfolk Snout.
Yes, it's not my nickname. So it's been extinct in the UK, we think, since about 1971, but I have a secret suspicion that the moth, the adult moth, which was found very close to where we are, has been here all the time, and it's just been rediscovered by somebody who's very, very keen on moth collecting. That wind is incredible now, so we have to almost hug the microphone, nearly blowing us down into the moat.
It's very windy, isn't it? But how exciting that a species thought gone and over for 50 years would come back like that.
Oh, no, it's mind-blowing.
But the Norfolk Snout moth has only ever been found within miles of here, though,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes. There's lots of places all around Norfolk that the hoary mullein, Verbascum pulverulentum, actually grows. Snettisham is one, Heacham's another, Dersingham. They're dotted about, but generally it's on that lovely seam of chalk which comes in off the North Yorkshire coast, snakes down close to Norwich, hence much about the city walls of Norwich, close to Norwich Cathedral, and then it goes under the downs and finishes with the White Cliffs of Dover. And on that seam you do get hoary mullein growing, but it's really an East Anglian speciality. So to bring a moth back that it's probably been here, but it's been rediscovered since 1970. That's a good 50 years, isn't it? We're all mind blown away. The moth wasn't actually discovered here, but we're going to do some surveys to see if there are any larvae in this particular area which feed on the leaves. But I've always been fascinated by the plant because you can look down there, there's a pure white one, the leaf this is, and the plant has protected itself against attacks by moths by producing this kind of inedible sort of fluff on the top side of the leaves.
It almost looks to me like icing sugar sometimes.
Yes, it does, yes. Hence, some people call it ghostly, and because of this sort of white appearance of the plant. They're tall and
these ones have gone over, and some of them are like 6 foot tall.
Oh, yes, yeah, and they produce... one plant like that will produce 1 million seeds, but we think the seeds survive in the soil for 100 years, maybe 200 years, even longer.
There's one at our foot here.
And so they're quite white and fluffy. So what you need to look for, Gudgeon, is a tiny caterpillar and some leaf damage. But you've got to be a real expert to do that, and it's way past my capability. But you can actually get the bottom of the leaves and you can rub the little hoary, the hoary just because it means white, rather like a hoar frost in the morning, and look at the underside of the leaves, very, very pale and covered in that white fluff to deter caterpillars.
Very velvety to the touch.
It is. Obviously it's a great interest for the moth, and we've had the mullein moth caterpillar here at the farm for many years, and a huge green and black caterpillar. The moth's nothing at all to look at, but this is quite something. So the correct name of the Latin name of this new Norfolk Snout is a micro moth, by the way, about a 20 mil wingspan, is Nothris verbascella. So there we are. It's a first for sort of Stoke Holy Cross and Caister St Edmund, and hopefully it'll turn up in other places around Norfolk. Now we know what to look for. The moth itself is not very exciting either, but to have an extinct species to come back from beyond the grave, if you like, is quite something. So thank you, Dr. Alex Seaman, for turning me round accidentally, and it's the best thing that you ever did.
Back to the car, and we'll have a look at some of the emails.
Yes, come on, back we go. Right. This way. Come here.
He's taken over my seat.
No, he just wants to lick your face.
You're not going to succeed this week. Oh, he's got some water. Well, out of the wind now. It took my breath away a bit, that. We've been used to the gentle airs of summer, and all of a sudden we've got Hurricane Herbert coming down on us. Michael and Judith, thank you for your lovely postcard. First of all, the Long Man of Wilmington. One of those, you're talking about chalk just now.
Yes,
that's an amazing feature on the side of a hill down with the downs.
Yes, yeah, the chalk's well underneath there, and thank you very much. Yes,
East Sussex. That's where you'll find Wilmington. John and Philippa Arnott from West Sussex. So we've gone from East Sussex to West Sussex. The bird recording was a grey partridge calling. The partridge shooting season starts on the 1st of September, but not if that date falls on a Sunday as it does this year. So there we are. That was the answer to your conundrum.
Correct, yes. Well done.
We live in West Sussex, and our tiny garden 3 miles west of Chichester backs onto a farmer's field where we hear Frenchmen calling every now and then. These are the French partridges.
Yes.
However, we have to travel to the Duke of Norfolk's estate. That's Arundel, isn't it? To hear the greys calling.
Yes, that's right. They're becoming quite a scarce bird now, although it's still legal to shoot them. Some shoots have given up shooting them out of kindness, but it's still legal, and they're shot pretty much across the UK still, apart from on well-organised shoots.
Toby James Smith has sent a photograph of a bird, and let me just find the shot here. Looks like on a car park somewhere, and on a post is the little bird there.
Tried to do a close-up on the second picture.
Oh, yes.
There it is.
So this is a bird on a post, and Toby says, I was working in Warberswick Harbour and saw a wheatear and thought it might be of interest to you. And those are the photographs. So that is a wheatear.
Yes, and it certainly is there. Now, it's a female and or it's a juvenile. It's difficult to tell the quality of the pictures. Photographs about 25-30 yards away, but it's definitely the stance of a wheatear. Really recognisable. Migratory birds. The male is beautiful. It's got when it flies, and it often catch insects on the wing from underneath, so it'll fly vertically. It's very unusual, and you'll spread its tail, and it's got this wonderful black T-bar on the underside of the tail. But when it's perched on a post or it's feeding on freshly ploughed ground, which we often see them here at High Ash Farm, freshly tilled soil in early February through into March. They're early migratory birds that come to the UK quite early in the new year. They sort of jump up and down, they sort of have a flicking action, and when they fly away from you, it's one of those few birds, and bullfinch would be another one, that has this white rump. In fact, that's where the wheatear's name comes from, white rear, and it's a derivation. So you think
so it's nothing to do with anyone's ear.
No, or wheat either.
But it's rear.
White rear, and it's a derivation, wheatear. But beautiful little birds, especially the male as well, are really attractive.
We've had a video sent in from Framlingham in Suffolk. Lily and Andrew have written in. We stood in our garden and noticed a large number of swallows gathering above. We only have 2 pairs nesting in our stables, so we're guessing they are other local birds beginning to gather in preparation for their long flight. All of a sudden, a large number of them landed in a twisted willow in the garden, although there are plenty of wires where they normally sit. We've never seen a large number like this congregate in a tree before, and wondered if it's something Chris is familiar with.
Yes, I've only rarely seen a swallow in a tree. It is very, very unusual. All the years I've been watching and spending time with the swallows here, High Ash Farm, we've got lots and lots here. Generally it's on wires, occasionally on a roof, on a south-facing roof. They like to get warmed up in the company, particularly of house martins. But to come into a tree, they're not really perching birds, you see, so their legs are so weak they normally don't go into trees. It can mean trouble for them if there's local sparrowhawks. They like to be out in the open and watching round all the way round for any sign of danger. So that's really unusual to see that. I've seen house martins go into trees, but never a flock of swallows. And certainly you are right, swallows from up in the north of the country often only bring off one brood, just occasionally two. Further south where we are here in Norfolk, two broods, and this year they're going for a third in the stable block. But those ones up further north get their breeding done over quickly and start to head south, and the flocks gather in strength on the way down and then cross the English Channel and head off southwards.
Julian, who lives in Halesworth, another Suffolk tuner-inner, has been in Sweden. Lucky man, Falsterbo, watching the wonders of migration with his friend Chris Durden, who I know is a friend of yours as well.
Yes, good old Chris.
And there was another two people, a couple in the party called Tim and Cheryl, and they all listen to the podcast, keep us informed on the wonders of nature. And the question is, from Julian, have you noticed a slow year for migrators and pollinators at High Ash?
Yes, it certainly has been, particularly the pollinators. We've got distinct lack of bumblebees, many of the hoverfly species as well, and right down to not everybody's favourite, which is common wasp and hornets. The number is hugely reduced, and our butterflies, normally on the ivy at this time of the year, the ivy's in full flower at the moment. We have peacocks, we have small tortoiseshell, and lots of common butterflies, and they're as rare as hen's teeth this year.
Anna says, happy belated birthday, Chris. As discussed last Sunday, it was your birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Have a happy year ahead, spending time in nature. Well, I don't think there's any question that won't be happening. And Carl says, happy birthday, Chris. This is Carl from Singapore. I've been listening to you on the BBC and more recently on the Countryside podcast. I've enjoyed these, and my thanks to Matthew as well. Evoking the Norfolk countryside and bringing its inhabitants and moods to life. That's a lovely way to finish. Carl, we're glad you're tuned in many thousands of miles away.
Yes, we couldn't have a better reward. I love sharing the countryside with as many people that want to listen.
Countryside podcast returns with weekly episodes every Sunday, and the address, if you'd like to write to Chris, the email chris@countrysidepodcast.co.uk. Chris will be passed the emails by his IT department.
That sounds posh. That's my poor son in the office. Look what you've got this week, he says.
And then he will peruse them all. And we can't always mention everyone, but we do our very best. And I'm already looking forward to next week as autumn rolls on.
Yes, we've got to get carefully over the Roman moat to get back onto the road. I think I can negotiate it, but it's quite a feature. Just hope the truck's up for it.
This is a Soundyard production. Music is by Tom Harris.
Hello, it's Anna and Sophie from Soundyard here. Our new service, Spoken Stories, is an incredible experience where we record the stories and voice of your loved one, which you can then hold on to forever.
It makes for an incredible gift, and anyone can make one. Take a listen to this. It beautifully captures the thoughts and feelings of life from a 6-year-old's perspective.
I'm 6 years old and I love running around. I can run very, very fast, but I'm even faster on my bike. That's why I love biking. It makes me feel energetic. And also I bike loads of places. I like doing sports like dodgeball. people that are in charge in the world, well, I think that there should be no one in charge at all. So everyone's in charge. So everyone's so there's no person that's in charge. So everyone is it's a bit more free. That's what I think. Well, what I try to change at the moment is global warming. It's when us humans litter, destroy the planet and all its nature. That's global warming. It makes me feel sad. And also, if us humans keep doing that, it could destroy the whole planet Earth, and then all of the human beings will be destroyed. I try to stop global warming. And also, in my coat pocket, I have a bit of Kit Kat litter I found on the floor once. I love the planet more than anything. Grown-ups should be stopping global warming, because grown-ups are more powerful than kids. But if kids can be more powerful than grown-ups, kids and grown-ups can work together and do it. Kids should be able to do the same things as grown-ups. They should have more rights. Well, I love myself because that I believe in a lot of things. That's what I love about myself. I like being a kid, but because when I'm a grown up, I'm gonna have my own kids because that's what I want. And also, I'm a bit worried to have kids, and I'm still gonna be a kid for a long time. So I'm glad that's actually gonna happen. I'm glad I'm gonna stay a kid for a long time. I'm gonna have kids because I want to know what it feels like to be a parent. I'm gonna be a good parent.
Isn't that just gorgeous? If you'd like to find out more about recording a spoken story of your own, or you'd like to buy this as a present for someone, take a look at our website, www.soundyard.org/spoken stories, and take advantage of our introductory offer. Alternatively, you can get in touch via email, hello@soundyard.org.
And if the internet isn't an option, you can leave a message with your details on our landline number. It's 01603 273 899, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.